Somewhere in your life right now, a part of you is waiting for the courage to send that message, waiting for the right moment to start again, waiting for a version of tomorrow that keeps disappearing. Most people believe something outside of them is holding them back. Bad luck, bad timing, not enough money, not the right support. But what if the biggest obstacle in your life was never out there at all? What if it was standing exactly where you are standing right now? This is the idea behind a quiet, powerful book called The Mountain is You. And once you understand it, you will never look at your own choices the same way again. But to understand this idea, we need to meet someone first. Someone who looked completely fine on the outside, but was fighting a war no one could see. The invisible wall. Her name was Sarah. She was 28 years old, and from the outside, her life looked steady. She had a job. She had a small apartment. She had a routine that never changed. But every night, before she closed her eyes, the same thought returned. This is not the life I wanted. Sarah had dreams once, a business of her own, a book she wanted to write, a stronger, healthier version of herself she used to imagine in quiet moments. But somehow, none of it had happened. Not because she didn't try. She had started that business twice. She had opened that book file more times than she could count. She had joined the gym 3 separate years in a row. And every single time, she stopped. Not because life stopped her. She stopped herself. There was one morning she remembered clearly. She had finally written a business proposal she was proud of. Her finger hovered over the send button for almost 10 minutes. Then a quiet thought arrived. What if they say no? What if this is not good enough? She closed the laptop instead, told herself she would send it tomorrow when it's more polished. Tomorrow never came. Not because the proposal was weak, but because a part of her had already decided long before that morning that safety felt better than the risk of being seen and rejected. And this is where most people's story ends. A quiet giving up, disguised as maybe later. But Sarah's story took a different turn the day she found an old, worn book in a secondhand shop. The book that stopped her hand. The cover was simple, just a title, The Mountain is You. She almost put it back, but one line on the back cover stopped her hand. It said something like this: "The obstacle in your way is not outside of you. It is the unhealed part of you that keeps recreating the same problem." Sarah felt something strange in her chest. Not comfort, recognition. She bought the book, and that night she read the first chapter twice. What self-sabotage really is. Here is the first truth the book gave her, and the truth we all need to hear. Self-sabotage is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not a character flaw. Self-sabotage is a form of self-protection that has gone wrong. Somewhere in your past, a part of you learned that success, visibility, or change was dangerous. Maybe you were criticized for standing out. Maybe love felt unstable, so closeness started to feel like risk. Maybe failure once hurt so deeply that trying began to feel unsafe. So your mind made a decision, quietly, without asking permission. If we do not try fully, we cannot be fully hurt. That decision felt like protection once. But years later, it became a prison. This is the moment Sarah realized something that changed everything. Her problem was never a lack of motivation. It was a war between two parts of herself. The two selves. The book explained it like this. There are two versions of you living in the same mind. One version wants growth, new opportunities, a bigger life. The other version wants safety, familiarity, no risk of pain. And when these two versions disagree, the subconscious mind almost always wins. Because the subconscious mind is not interested in your happiness, it is interested in your survival. To your subconscious mind, the unknown feels dangerous, even if the unknown is actually good for you. So, it quietly pulls you back, not through obvious mistakes, through small, invisible patterns. Procrastination, self-doubt, distraction, perfectionism, overthinking. These are not random habits. They are your mind's way of keeping you where it believes you are safe. Think of the person who finally gets their dream job and suddenly starts finding reasons to doubt it. More money, more responsibility, more visibility. To the growth-seeking self, this is exciting, but to the safety-seeking self, it is a threat because it is unfamiliar. So, the mind quietly manufactures hesitation, dressed up as just being careful. 3 signs you might be doing this too. Before we continue Sarah's story, it is worth pausing here because these patterns are rarely only hers. The first sign is over-preparing. You keep researching, planning, and getting ready, but somehow you never reach the moment of actually starting. The second sign is quiet self-doubt right before something good happens. A new opportunity appears, and instead of excitement, you feel a strange urge to shrink or to find a reason it will not work. The third sign is pulling away from people who are kind to you while staying loyal to situations that hurt you. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar happiness. If any of these felt uncomfortably familiar, that discomfort is not a flaw. It is simply awareness, arriving a little late, but right on time. Sarah read this part twice, because suddenly her whole life made sense in a new way. But understanding the problem was only step 1. The real question was harder. How do you fight an enemy that lives inside your own mind? You are the mountain. This is where the book gives its central idea, the one the whole title is built on. Imagine your biggest goal as a mountain. For years, Sarah imagined outside forces standing between her and that mountain. Bad luck, not enough time, not enough talent. But the book explained something different. The mountain is not the obstacle. You are the mountain. Your fears are the mountain. Your unhealed pain is the mountain. Your old beliefs about who you are allowed to become, that is the mountain. And climbing it does not mean changing the world around you. It means changing the world inside you. Think about it this way. If Sarah had simply forced herself to send that old business proposal without changing anything inside her, the fear would have found a new door, a different excuse, a different delay. Because the mountain was never the business or the book or the gym. Those were only different paths up the same slope. This idea hit Sarah harder than she expected, because it meant something both frightening and freeing. Responsibility without blame. If you are the mountain, then you are also the one who can move it. This is not about blame. Sarah did not create her fears on purpose. No one chooses to be afraid of failure. No one chooses anxiety or self-doubt or old wounds. But here is the powerful part. Even though you did not choose the wound, you can choose the healing. The book calls this emotional maturity, taking responsibility for your growth without punishing yourself for your past. Sarah began to see her old patterns differently, not as proof that she was broken, but as proof that a part of her had simply been trying to survive. But knowing this was not enough. Sarah needed a real plan, and the book gave her 4 steps that quietly rebuilt her entire life. Step 1. Awareness. Most people repeat the same pattern for years without noticing it. They blame outside circumstances every time. Sarah started asking a new question every time she felt the urge to quit something. Am I stopping because this truly is not right for me? Or am I stopping because a part of me is afraid? That single question began to separate real limits from fear-based limits. And once you can see the pattern, it slowly loses its power over you. Step 2. Discipline over motivation. Sarah used to wait to feel motivated before taking action. But motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. The book explained something simple but powerful. Discipline is choosing your future over your mood. It does not require excitement. It only requires a decision, repeated daily, even on the days you do not feel like it. Sarah began with something small. 10 minutes of writing every morning, not for inspiration, just for consistency. Some mornings she wanted to write. Most mornings she did not, but she showed up anyway because she was no longer negotiating with her own mood. And slowly, consistency built a version of her that motivation never could. Step 3. A new identity. Most people try to change behavior without changing self-image. They say, I want to be healthy, while still thinking of themselves as someone who always gives up. But real change happens when your actions start matching a new identity. Sarah stopped saying, I am trying to write a book. She started saying, I am someone who writes every single day. The words felt strange at first, but her actions slowly grew into them. Step 4. Healing the past self. Sarah used to feel embarrassed by her old failed attempts, the abandoned business, the unfinished book, the broken gym memberships. But the book asked her to see those moments differently. Every attempt, even the failed ones, was proof that a part of her never stopped wanting more. She was not someone who kept failing. She was someone who kept trying long enough to finally understand why she was stuck. And once she forgave that version of herself, something inside her finally became quiet. The quiet change. Months passed. Sarah did not become a different person overnight. There was no dramatic, cinematic moment. There was a week, about 2 months in, when she almost stopped again. A client did not reply to her proposal for 8 days. The old voice returned immediately. See, this is why you don't try. But this time, Sarah noticed the voice instead of obeying it. She recognized it as the same old protector, afraid of a repeat of old pain, not an accurate prediction of her future. So she did something small. She sent one more message, just a polite follow-up, nothing dramatic. The client replied that same afternoon, apologizing for the delay. It was a small moment, but it quietly proved something enormous. The mountain moves one honest step at a time, even when your hands are shaking. Instead, something quieter happened. She kept writing, 10 minutes at a time, until 10 minutes became an hour. She kept showing up at the gym, not for a perfect body, but for a promise she was finally keeping to herself. She restarted her small business, not with fear of failing again, but with the calm understanding that failing was simply part of climbing. One evening, almost a year later, Sarah sat by her window with a finished manuscript beside her. Not a perfect one, but a real one. And for the first time in years, the thought that used to visit her every night did not come. Because she was no longer living the life she was trying to escape. She had not defeated fear completely. It still visited sometimes, quieter now, like an old habit that no longer had the final word. But she had learned to keep walking with it beside her, instead of waiting for it to leave first. Your own mountain. Here is the truth this story is really about. You may not relate to Sarah's exact dream, but you already know your own mountain. Maybe it is a relationship you are afraid to be vulnerable in. Maybe it is a career change you keep postponing. Maybe it is simply the discipline to become the person your future depends on. Whatever it is, the obstacle was never as far away as it felt. It was never the interview. It was never the phone call you keep avoiding. It was never even the deadline. It was the quiet decision made somewhere in your past that this particular kind of risk was not safe for you. And decisions, unlike facts, can be made again. The mountain is you is not really about mountains. It is about the moment you stop waiting for outside permission and start doing the quiet, unglamorous work of becoming someone new. Self-sabotage is not your enemy. It is an old protector, still guarding a door that no longer needs to be locked. And the moment you understand this, you stop fighting yourself. You start climbing. If this story helped you see something in yourself today, that is not an accident. Somewhere inside you, a part of you already knew. Subscribe to this channel because we tell stories like this every week. Real lessons, real growth, and real English, one story at a time. Because sometimes one idea, understood fully, can change the next 10 years of your life.